Ronaldo to Manchester United is bad business by United, and after watching this video, you'll understand why. In this video, I'm going to cover the myth of shirt sales covering Ronaldo's costs, and whether the signing makes much of an impact commercially. I'll look at why I don't think the Ronaldo signing will be of significant benefit to United on the pitch, and by extension what that money should have been spent on, and then we'll end by exploring the whole transfer saga, looking at Ronaldo's now potentially damaged legacy, including why he wanted to join City, and why United doesn't really suit Ronaldo's ambition. This is actually the third time I've tried to do a video on Ronaldo. The first was on me not believing the Ronaldo to City rumours and basically dismissing it, but then as I go to upload it, it seemed more and more likely that he was going to leave Juve for Manchester City, so that video was rubbish. So then I recorded a second video, how Ronaldo would fit in at City, is Ronaldo's legacy at United damaged? And then as I went to upload that, all the talk then came about, well, Ronaldo's going to join United, and sure enough, Ronaldo joined United before I was able to upload that video, so once again, that video in the mud. So third time is the charm. Ronaldo has officially joined United, he's been handed the number 7 shirt, the deal is done. But I think it's a bad deal and bad business by United. But why do I think that? Full disclosure, I am a City fan, but I do like to think I'm very objective, and as we'll be discussing later in the video, I also don't think Ronaldo would have been the best signing for City either. I've also got nothing against Ronaldo. For me, he's the second greatest player of all time behind Messi, and I actually preferred prime Ronaldo to prime Messi. But let's start by busting a myth, the idea that shirt sales and merchandise bought inspired by Ronaldo's signing will pay for the transfer itself. This just isn't a thing. Ronaldo's transfer fee cost Manchester United 15 million euros with a potential 8 million additional euros in add-on fees. And over the 2-year contract, Ronaldo will earn wages of 40 million pounds. So let's underestimate the total add-ons package for argument's sake, and let's say Ronaldo cost United 13 million pounds in transfer fees and then 40 million pounds in wages over the 2 years, so that's a total transfer of 53 million pounds. So United would have to average 26.5 million pounds in merchandise and shirt sales each year over those 2 years in order to fully cover Ronaldo's fee. Now we need to have a potentially boring conversation about shirt sponsor contracts and profit splits and address the key points of additional shirt sales, because obviously United were going to sell a load of shirts even without Ronaldo signing for United. Therefore, the only shirts you can actually use in your calculations are the ones that have been bought because of the Ronaldo signing, i.e. how many additional shirts will United sell due to the Ronaldo transfer. People are also assuming that United make a 100% profit on every shirt they sell, which is clearly not right. A club barely makes any money from the direct shirt sales. Rather, the main profit comes from the sponsorship deal with the kit supplier, i.e. Adidas. And it's Adidas who will heavily benefit from additional shirt sales, not United. Now obviously the full details between kit supplier and club are never going to be fully revealed. However, expert analysts in this field estimate that, in general, with these sorts of contracts and deals, a club will be earning approximately 7% profit from each shirt sold. So that can basically be summarized as follows. If Manchester United sell a shirt for £100, that means in terms of profit to the club, it will be a £7 profit. Therefore, to cover Ronaldo's cost from shirt sales, United would have to sell an additional 7.57 million shirts over the next 2 years. And to put that into context, United sold 1.8 million shirts in 2019 and 1.7 million shirts in 2020. So based on that, United would have to sell an additional number of shirts, which is greater than 4 times the amount of shirts they sold last year. And that's almost 100% guaranteed to not happen, because not only do they have to hit that number, it also has to be an additional number of shirts to sell rather than overall shirt sold. So people who are saying shirt sales will cover the total cost of Ronaldo's transfer are just talking nonsense. Now that's not to say it won't be a commercial boost for United, because there's no doubt Ronaldo will increase shirt and merchandise sales, and people will definitely go to a game just to see Ronaldo, or visit the United shop and buy something, or follow United on social media just because Ronaldo plays for them. But the significance is getting blown heavily out of proportion. This isn't a new money club which really needed the commercial boost. This is Manchester United, the biggest club in England, a huge worldwide brand, arguably top 3 biggest clubs in the world. So the impact of signing Ronaldo to United isn't nearly as comparable as the signing of Messi to PSG, or it wouldn't have as much significance had Ronaldo joined City commercially. United is already a heavily established brand and one of the strongest sporting brands in the world. So whilst there will be a slight boost commercially, it's not going to be a game changer by any means. United's stock price also went up following the signing, which is nice if you invested in United shares and you then sold them, but in terms of that money going back to the club, back to Old Trafford, No, United does not see that money. Even if United did see that money, the share value of United before the Ronaldo signing was $17.29 a share, and in the immediate aftermath of the signing, the share price went up to $18.49. However, as of right now, the share price has gone right back down to where it was originally, $17.29. This was a very short-term impact. This is how shares work, and that's actually only of benefit to the people who invested in the shares and then sold the shares when they were at their highest point. So bringing up stock price when we're trying to reason that Ronaldo's transfer has paid for itself is largely irrelevant, and overall it doesn't appear that the signing has or will make a huge impact commercially. So that's off the pitch. Now let's move on to on the pitch. Why do I not think Ronaldo will significantly impact United on the pitch? Well, to start, Ronaldo doesn't particularly fit or suit United's current system, which involves the team pressing as a whole from the front in order to win back possession and put pressure on the opposition players. And Ronaldo just doesn't do that. Across the top 5 leagues last season, Ronaldo was in the bottom 2% of forwards for pressures made. He's not exactly going to be contributing to the defensive aspect of the game, or pressing from the front as he reserves his energy purely for goal scoring. And speaking of goals, he scores goals, plenty of them. In his 2 most recent seasons for Juventus, he got 37 goals and then 36 goals. He also recently broke the international goal scoring record with Portugal. But that's what Ronaldo is at 36 years old. A poacher, a pure out-and-out goal scorer, someone who basically operates entirely in and around the penalty box. His powers are declining, and the pacey, tricky winger we loved watching at Manchester United doesn't exist anymore. To conserve his energy as he ages, Ronaldo has had to heavily adapt his game, and he basically reserves all of his output for goal scoring. And is that really what United needs? No. United have Cavani, United have Greenwood, United have Martial, and even Rashford can play up top for United. Every Manchester United fan and external observer will be able to tell you the 3 key positions Manchester United needed to strengthen this summer in order to genuinely compete for the title, and that was a right-sided forward, a centre-half, and a defensive midfielder. Sancho and Varane covered 2 of those requirements, but there's still a glaring hole in midfield which is currently occupied by Fred, who I've been told is a professional footballer. Now, if you see my predictions video, I thought United would finish 4th this season, maybe 2nd if they got a defensive-minded midfielder. Someone in the mould of Ndidi, Kante, Locatelli. But they didn't, and Ronaldo doesn't help with that crucial issue in midfield. We've already seen at the start of the season against both Southampton and Wolves, the issue isn't up front, the issue stems from the centre of midfield. What's the point of signing Ronaldo and having him in your starting 11 if Fred is also in your starting 11? You're only as strong as your weakest link, and that money could have been used to significantly strengthen a position that United really needed to work on, i.e. central midfield. Although worryingly, United seem to never even have any intention of signing a defensive-minded midfielder due to apparent lack of funds, only to go and sign Ronaldo on incredibly hefty wages. If I was a United fan, I wouldn't be happy at all about that bizarre allocation of resources. I can see some positives, however, because there's an obvious positive of Ronaldo's going to score United a lot of goals this season, but also, I think this could be more important actually, Ronaldo is a winner, and mentally he must be one of the strongest players in the world. We know he's a leader, and from a morale and mentality perspective, that could be a huge boost to United's relatively young squad. There's also the question of Mason Greenwood and his development. Does Ronaldo playing significantly stunt Greenwood's development? I can see both sides of this, because in one instance it could prevent Greenwood from starting as many games as he would normally do, and when you're that age, starting games and playing games is gold. But conversely, he'll also be in a squad with the likes of Cavani and Ronaldo. He'll hopefully be able to learn from Ronaldo and improve his game. Ronaldo's only staying for 2 to 3 years after all, and by the end of Ronaldo's time at United, it will also be the end of Cavani's time at United. So Greenwood could be better for it, and it might then be his time to play centrally week in, week out, which would be great for both United and England. Overall, stylistically, tactically, I don't think Ronaldo necessarily improves United. He's not what they needed. He doesn't exactly fit the system, and I still have that lingering question and thought of why wasn't that money used for a position that United desperately needed? For me, it's an illogical allocation of resources, and it seems like an incredibly rash decision and bad bit of business. The transfer must be based purely on not wanting anyone else, i.e. Man City, to have Ronaldo. So in effect, United are paying £53 million over 2 years for the right for City to not have Ronaldo. And when your transfer policy is directed by focusing on other clubs rather than looking at yourself and looking internally, that's incredibly worrying. And let's now take a look at the transfer saga as a whole. why did City not sign Ronaldo? Why did Ronaldo want to join City? And is Ronaldo's legacy impacted as a consequence? Before we dive into the chronology, it's worth noting that the following has been corroborated by incredibly reliable sources, including The Athletic, Sky, Fabrizio Romano, and more. So it's pretty safe to say that the following is an accurate representation of what actually happened. At the start of the transfer window, Ronaldo made it blatantly clear to his agent that he wanted out of Juventus. They approached PSG, who weren't interested because they were focused on signing Messi. They approached Real Madrid, but they weren't interested because they were focusing on trying to sign Mbappe. And then they approached Man City, who were presented with a chance to sign Ronaldo, but they said no, they rejected him because they were interested in signing Harry Kane at that point. And Guardiola had apparently made it clear he didn't want Ronaldo to play for City. He said he didn't want Ronaldo and that he was happy with his current squad, and he'd closed the door on a potential transfer for Ronaldo. But following Kane's confirmation he would be staying at Spurs, Ronaldo spoke with Guardiola about his place in the team and how he would fit into his team and what his role would be. Discussions and negotiations then began between Ronaldo's camp and Manchester City, although as late as 3 days before Ronaldo would be officially announced as a United player, City were internally deliberating whether they wanted a player who Guardiola had rejected a few days ago. So there were always doubts from City about this transfer. Stylistically, it wouldn't be a perfect match, and there were also concerns about Ronaldo's wages potentially disrupting City's current wage structure. Despite that, both player and club were expectant that Ronaldo would be playing for Manchester City in the coming days. City wanted a striker, and the commercial boost Ronaldo would provide City would have been significant, as City is nowhere near the level of United when it comes to brand. On Thursday, 26th of August, The Athletic reported that Ronaldo's representatives held talks with City over a potential transfer. Ronaldo confirmed to the Juventus manager Allegri that he would no longer be playing for Juventus. Juventus wanted rid of Ronaldo as they're basically in the mud financially, and they wanted Ronaldo's extortionate wages off their balance sheets. They were, however, adamant that a deal would be done on their terms, and due to the amortization of Ronaldo's transfer fee of nearly 30 million euros, Juventus needed a fee of around that much to balance their books. Now, it was widely reported that City didn't want to pay any fee to Juventus, but it's understood that they could have been willing to pay a fee. Regardless, it was clear that Ronaldo wanted to join City, and City, despite reservations, were preparing for the transfer. Enter Manchester United. United realised Ronaldo playing for City would have huge consequences. To allow City to sign Ronaldo, especially without a fight, would have been a really bad look for United, from the fans, from current players, and from potential players, and more. Solskjaer called Woodward to see if a deal for Ronaldo could, in theory, be made, and basically immediately Woodward said, yep, that deal can be made 100%. And as I touched on before, that's potentially a little bit worrying how quickly Woodward was able to confirm he was able to allocate resources for the Ronaldo move, when a few weeks ago the official word from United was, no, we have no more funds to sign a defensive midfielder. And that's very odd given the desperate need for a defensive midfielder and not a striker. It was also reported that Fergie and other high-profile ex-Manchester United players had a crucial key role in convincing Ronaldo to join United. We'll get onto legacy in a moment, but isn't it a bit of a worry that Ronaldo needed the likes of Fergie and all these other ex-United players to be convinced to join United? Rio Ferdinand had a conversation with Ronaldo, and Ronaldo apparently wasn't fully aware of how playing for City might impact his legacy at United. And again, isn't it a bit worrying that he needed to be reminded of that? I don't really buy the whole, well, City weren't a threat when Ronaldo was at United, therefore he doesn't understand the impact on legacy. Because he's not blind, he would have seen the rise of Man City and the decline of United and the competitive rivalry thereafter, so I just don't buy that as an argument at all. At that point, City had seemed to be the only option for Ronaldo, but it was reported that City were no longer interested and they pulled out of the deal. Perhaps the prospect of challenging United, coupled with the fact that Guardiola had serious reservations about how Ronaldo would fit into his style of play, led to that decision and the decision to pull out of the deal. But regardless, that allowed United to sign him without challenge, and it was Ronaldo's only option in any event. As I touched on previously, United signing Ronaldo seems to purely be about him not signing for City. And I repeat, that's a very odd approach to transfers by directing your focus at other clubs rather than worrying about your own affairs. Regarding the terms of the United deal, Ronaldo will be on much less money than he was at Juventus, and less further still than the supposed wage value he would have been on at City. He will still, however, be United's highest earning player at $385,000 a week. So, what does this saga mean for Ronaldo's ambitions and legacy? Well, let's start with ambition. The proposed move to City wasn't about money, and it wasn't about safeguarding a United legacy. It was about glory. It was to do with what Ronaldo is all about, winning and being the best. Juventus only just got into the Champions League last season, failing to defend their league title, and Juventus has never looked like genuinely competing or winning the Champions League since Ronaldo joined Juventus. Now, I suspect for Ronaldo, that's not good enough. And with Juventus' financial woes, it's incredibly unlikely that Juventus will genuinely compete for the Champions League within the next 2 to 3 years. And you could say Man City wouldn't match Ronaldo's ambitions either, because City fail over and over again in the Champions League. But the difference is they genuinely compete in that competition. They're always one of, if not the favourite of the competition. And Ronaldo would have known that joining City would mean he'd have a brilliant chance of winning the Champions League. And also domestic glory again, especially because Manchester City effectively only need a striker to complete their team. They only need a goal scorer, and that's exactly what Ronaldo is. So aside from it being the only option to Ronaldo, why has Ronaldo gone back to United? Maybe the idea of restoring United to Premier League champions and as genuine contenders in the Champions League was a perfect challenge for Ronaldo. But the issue is, as good as Ronaldo is, there's no guarantee he can do that with United. He wants the elite trophies, and right now at least, United are not guaranteed of genuinely competing in either the Premier League or the Champions League. He initially wanted to join PSG or City, which makes sense because year on year they genuinely compete. But both ultimately said no, and United was the final option, but it was certainly the most romantic option. I would love to think that Ronaldo always wanted to return to United, that he always wanted to try and restore them to winning ways, that he wanted to further his legacy and increase his adoration with the United fans. But based on the evidence we have, sadly, I don't think that's the case. Because Ronaldo was genuinely joining City. He spoke to Pep. His agent, under Ronaldo's instruction, approached Man City and they tried to offer Ronaldo to City. The fact the likes of Fergie, Rio and other United legends had to convince Ronaldo to not join City tells you that he wanted to join City. And that leads us into the final section of this video. Legacy. Based on the United fans I spoke to and the social media posts from the day where it was basically a guarantee that Ronaldo was joining City, it appeared Ronaldo had tarnished his legacy. He was labelled, not by all, but by plenty, as a disgrace, a traitor, a snake. This transfer wasn't comparable to Andy Cole coming to City or Dennis Law coming back to City. Their legacies are still intact. The key difference is those players were effectively finished in their careers by the time they came to City. And even if they weren't, City weren't a threat to United. But now, City are actually stronger than United. And even at 36, Ronaldo is an unbelievable player who would have improved City. It means much more. And what I've extrapolated from that desire to join City is that for Ronaldo, the short-term prospect of winning more Premier Leagues and maybe winning a Champions League or two means more to him than his legacy at Manchester United. And I'm sure loads of United fans won't care about that. And to those that never turn their back on Ronaldo, I'm looking at you, Flippy Flops, and James in particular, those people will be absolutely ecstatic at Ronaldo coming back to United. He's a club legend after all, and it doesn't really matter whether it was a logical signing. But to those who labelled him as a traitor, as a disgrace, as a snake, by their logic, surely Ronaldo still is a traitor, a snake, a disgrace. Because surely it's the intent, not the outcome, which matters in respect of legacy. So, that's the Ronaldo transfer. In sum, it's an incredibly illogical signing by Manchester United. The signing does not make logical sense, which is logical in itself because for the last few years especially, United hasn't been run particularly logically. To me, this transfer seems more like a PR stunt and a feel-good factor in order to curry favour with United fans, rather than a genuine attempt to bring trophies to Old Trafford. And there's also this huge element of we're signing this player just so this other club can't have him. There are some similarities between this transfer and the whole Alexis Sanchez transfer affair, so it looks like United didn't learn their lesson. But that being said, I don't think Ronaldo will flop at United like Sanchez did. I anticipate he'll score upwards of 25 goals in all competitions, and that he'll create more lasting memories for United fans. Unfortunately for Ronaldo, I don't think this was the best move for him in terms of trophy ambition. I'm more than happy to be proven wrong on this, but I would be genuinely staggered if over the 2-year duration of Ronaldo's contract, Manchester United win a Premier League or a Champions League. And that, ultimately, is what Ronaldo craves. That one word which I think Ronaldo desired so desperately that he was willing to damage his reputation and legacy at Manchester United. The word? Glory. Please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing if you are new, and I'll see you next time.